لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We have spent no thanks unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the vast majority of this month, exerting all of our effort in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have sacrificed our own luxuries, our time, the different forms of fun we used to have to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to stay in His house and stand, to sacrifice our food in the day and fast, to spend from our wealth in charity for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has certain conditions and certain preventers for accepting an action. There may be some people from amongst us that have exerted so much effort in trying to worship Allah and please Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, but on the day of judgment, they will find no good deed at all whatsoever. They'll meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinking they're fasted, thinking that they've stood at night, thinking that they've given charity, but they'll find nothing at all. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preventers. He has certain actions or certain conditions for accepting a person's action. And we're not speaking about intentions. No, we're speaking about following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, we're speaking about being a Muslim. Rather, we're speaking about another action that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically mentioned. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ثلاثة لا يقبل الله منهم صرفا ولا عدلا. He said there are three groups of people to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept صرفا ولا عدلا. He will never accept from them any obligatory action that they do. Nor will He accept from them any voluntary action that they do. No matter what they do in this dunya, no matter how much time they spend worshipping Allah from the obligatory actions or the voluntary actions, none of these actions are going to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He mentioned from these people, عَاقْلِ وَالِدَيْهِ. He mentioned from these people, the one who is disobedient towards his parents. لا يقبل الله منهم صرفا ولا عدلا. Allah Jalla wa Ala will never accept any obligatory action of theirs, nor will He accept any voluntary action of theirs. In fact, He continues sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In another hadith, He said, ثلاثة. There are three groups of people. لا ينظر الله إليهم يوم القيامة ولا يزكيهم ولهم عذاب أليم. There are three groups of people to whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not look at on the day of judgment. What does it mean for Allah Jalla wa Ala not to look at you? It means that you'll be raising your hand, trying to catch the attention of Allah, trying to catch Allah Jalla wa Ala's mercy. But Allah Jalla wa Ala would not even look at you. You know He can see you, but He's not looking at you Jalla wa Ala. He doesn't want to help you in Yawm al-Qiyamah. لا ينظر الله إليهم يوم القيامة ولا يزكيهم ولهم عذاب أليم. And to them is a severe form of punishment. And He mentioned from them the one who is disobedient towards his parents. He said another hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ثلاثة. There are three groups of people. حرم الله عليهم الجنة. That Allah Jalla wa Ala has made Jannah prohibited for them. Allah has made Jannah prohibited for them. And He mentioned from them, عَاقْ لِوَالِدَيْهِ, the one who is disobedient towards his parents. This is why Ibn Abbas, the mufassir of the deen of Allah, the great one who understood the Quran and all of its details, the Sahabi al-Jaleel, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, there are three commandments that Allah Jalla wa Ala sent from amongst the heavens. And each one of these commandments came with another commandment, a pair, a companion. Whereby if you abstain from doing one of them, it's as if though you have abstained from doing both of them. There are three commandments Allah Jalla wa Ala sent from above the heavens. Each one of these commands comes with a companion. For you to be able to achieve one of them, you have to do both of them. He said the first of these, is a statement of Allah Jalla wa Ala, وَأَطِيعُ اللَّهُ وَأَطِيعُ الرَّسُولِ. Obey Allah and obey His Messenger. The person disobeys the Messenger, he has disobeyed Allah. If he disobeys Allah, he has disobeyed the Messenger. He has to obey both of them, Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to be able to fulfill this commandment. The second is وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةِ. And those who establish their prayers and they give charity. For a person to get the reward of praying his salah, he must give zakat. And for him to get the reward of giving zakat, he must pray salah. And then he said, and the third commandment that came with a pair is the ayah of Allah Jalla wa Ala, أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكِ. Or the ayah of Allah Jalla wa Ala, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. The statement of Allah Jalla wa Ala, and Allah Jalla wa Ala has commanded you, has written for you, that you must worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be dutiful towards your parents. And ishkur li wa liwalidayk, he pairs it again once more in the Quran. Be thankful to Allah and be thankful towards your parents. To the extent that Ibn Abbas is saying, radiyallahu anhu, that a person does not be thankful towards his parents, or he is not dutiful towards his parents, or he disobeyed his parents, he has disobeyed Allah Jalla wa Ala. He has been unthankful and ungrateful to Allah Jalla wa Ala. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أَلَا أُنَبِّئُكُمْ وَأَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ بِأَكْبَرِ الْكَبَائِرِ. Should I not inform you or teach you or let you know of the greatest of sins? The Sahaba asked, yes, Ya Rasulullah. He said, Al-Ishraku billah, to associate partners with Allah and to be disobedient towards your parents. Oh brothers in Islam, there are a number of us, may Allah Jalla wa Ala guide us. The number of us who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed by enabling us to have a mother or a father, or both of them. There are certain people amongst us, may Allah Jalla wa Ala have mercy upon our parents, to whom Allah Jalla wa Ala has taken their parents, one of them or both of them. For those of you who still have a mother or a father, know that with them, and obeying them, and pleasing them, is pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your parents is an avenue for you to either enter paradise, or an avenue for you to either enter the hellfire. Look to the stories of the great nations that came before us, because sometimes we feel somewhat embarrassed or ashamed to address our parents by their respect that they deserve, or listen to them in public, or to obey them when it goes against the norm perhaps. Look to the great examples of the people that came before. Look to Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, the Sahabi, the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Whenever he would enter his home, he would say to his mother, Ya amata, O my beloved mother, I ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to send peace and blessings upon you. May Allah give you Jannah, he used to say. And she would reply back saying the same. And whenever he would leave the house, he would say the very same thing. And he wouldn't leave until he hears from his mother the words of peace and mercy. Look to Abu Hassan, Ali ibn Hussein, Zayn al-Abidin, rahimahullah ta'ala. Or rather look to Ibn Shuraih, the Qadi, the great judge of Islam. Ibn Shuraih, he used to have a class of thousands of people. Thousands of people would come to his sittings and his gatherings to learn knowledge from him. And I want you to imagine the scenario here. He's sitting with a group of 1,000 people, teaching the deen of Allah Jalla wa Ala. His mother comes from behind him and says to him, oh my son, it's time to put the chickens away. He used to have chickens. Oh my son, it's time to put the chickens away. And she came and she said this to him. The reason why I chose this narration is because it's an embarrassing situation. You're sitting with 1,000 people who have left and traveled different parts of the Islamic empire to come to the gathering of this great scholar of Islam. And his mother comes to him for a request that looks somewhat embarrassing. It's time for you to put the chickens away. He will stop his class, not caring the least about who is in front of him and what they sacrificed, because he understood that pleasing Allah is pleasing your mother. So these students narrate, they say, we saw him raise his stove and he would run after the chickens. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Understanding that obedience to the parents is from among the greatest of actions. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ayyu amalin ahabbu ila Allah? Which action is the most beloved to Allah Jalla wa ala? And he said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as-salatu fi waqtiha, salah in its prescribed time. Then he asked, thumma ay, then which one? And he said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, birrul walidayn, being dutiful towards your parents. And then he asked, thumma ay, and then which one? And he said, al-jihadu fi sabilillah, jihad in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's our brothers in Islam. For those of us who've blocked our parents from their homes, for those of us who haven't spoken to them, who haven't sent a word of mercy to them, who have blocked them or not replied to their messages for a long time, or have some feud between yourselves and your mothers or your fathers, know that everything you've done in this month of Ramadan, and everything that's come before, and everything that's about to come in the future, you're not going to find it on your scale. You'll not find it on the scale on Yawm al-Qiyamah. For the Prophet ﷺ told us, لا يقبل الله منهم صرفا ولا عدلا. He will not accept any obligatory action. Nobody accepts any voluntary action. And so I remind myself first and foremost, and then you all, before the next salah begins, the pleasure of your parents is a simple text message away. The pleasure of your parents is a simple text message away. Send to them a message. Send them a message telling them that you love them for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And find their mercy and find their pleasure. Tell them you love them before it is too late. Before you are burying them in their graves and they are unable to hear you or feel you or be pleased with your words. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve the lives of our parents. We ask Allah Jalla wa ala to allow them to live a deen of pleasure of Allah Jalla wa ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make them from the inhabitants of the highest rank of paradise. We ask Allah Jalla wa ala to enable us to please them, to enable us to be with them in the highest ranks of paradise. وجزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.